Because at this age, parents are passing away. So on one hand, you're very thankful that he's still alive. And they're trying to figure out what's the right way to do it. Do you move with another parent? Do you move where family is?
We've been in and out of a lot of senior centers, so they may be there for 5 years and no one has come to visit them.
25 minutes away, 30 minutes away, which frankly made it really challenging for Carolyn and I to go there.
So I started working early, whether cutting lawns or delivering newspapers or being a copy boy, because we needed the money.
It is sometimes easier to care for parents when they have loved you and they have sacrificed for you. But what does it also look like when it's hard? The dad got dementia, so had to be put in assisted living, but the mom was still alive. Mom had to try to take care of him, and that was challenging because then it got a little bit aggressive. And so taking care and the toll it takes on the other surviving person.
You can make choices as you do for kids. If we want to go and do this thing that you want to do, you're gonna need to make sure you're rested. Are you gonna allow me to keep reading until 1 a.m.? Let's go to bed now. I'm Carlos Watson. We're back with another edition of the Watsons.
Stronger Together.
Today, I'm hoping you guys will be able to be candid because we're going to talk about something I know that is a difficult topic for all of us, which is taking care of our older parents, in our particular case, taking care of our very talented but our very difficult dad. You guys feel like you're open to that conversation?
Let's see.
All right, Bev, you're definitely holding back. Yeah! All right, let's see who's willing to go where, and then we'll go from there. We had a very interesting experience growing up because in many ways we had two wonderful parents, both smart, both bright, both optimistic people, very, very global people.
Educated people. People with big hearts who cared about the community and cared about education and cared about serving others.
They cared about family too, right? They each cared about family in a very central way, but also an extended family way as well.
Dad was the fifth of six, and that was just of his full siblings, and then he had another roughly half a dozen half siblings, and then Mom was the second of seven. They met and got married what was considered late in life at the time. Mom was roughly 35 and Dad was 34, and in 1966, and then they had our big sister the nenext year, and then me 2 years later, and then Carolyn, you roughly 2 years later, and then Bev, you the year after. So they got a lot of work done in a short amount of time. and back in those days, having kids in your late 30s, early 40s was be like today having kids in your late 40s, early 50s, right? So it was considered really unusual. But growing up, Mom was a breath of fresh air.
Always.
She was creative, hardworking, easy to be around.
Fun, funny,
loving.
Loving,
embracive, very embracing.
And lots of people loved her as well.
She was everybody's mommy.
Right. Everybody's mommy, everybody's favorite aunt.
Very optimistic.
Dad was very charismatic.
Very much so.
Was a
Big
teacher.
Big voice, loved to laugh.
Loved to laugh, loved politics, loved newspapers.
Yep.
Enjoyed sports. As you said, was very community-minded, volunteered on lots of campaigns, volunteered for organizations like the NAACP, the Urban League, and others.
And so we ended up doing that as well with him, right?
So we ended up doing that with him, right? Dad didn't have the success that he wanted to professionally.
Right.
He was in and out of different jobs over the years. Had served in the military prior to getting married to Mom, and so had that in his background. But really... I think it was a tough combination of, I think he generally encountered a very racist environment at the time for a professional black man, and particularly someone who had strong views of fairness and right and wrong, and wasn't the kind of person to go along to get along, but was the kind of person, if he saw someone else in trouble, to say that person's not getting treated fairly.
He'd speak out.
And so that ended up, having an impact on him.
Yes, and it also made Mom and Dad a good working team, in that Dad had a lot of big ideas, but Mom could follow through.
Dad is and was a handful, right? He's argumentative, and as best I understand, came from a very argumentative culture, right? Meaning that he's not the only one. His father, his grandfather, and a lot of the folks around. If anyone's been in the Jamaican countryside, you know we are not a quiet people, right? I think if I understand right, some of the Jamaican countrymen were some of the fiercest warriors, right? And then we fought back and pushed back against the colonials, and so we're not a quiet people, right? So we're not quiet people, and so all of that made stuff tough. There were times we were on food stamps. There were times the lights got cut off. There were times that a lot of times we went to Goodwill. We knew what it was to buy something on credit or to charge
go to
something.
the flea market, right? We got a lot of stuff from the flea market.
Or go to the flea market.
Joanne.
But people would see us and they would hear us speak, and they'd see these clean, bright-eyed kids and college-educated parents, and they wouldn't assume that those folks would be having the kind of financial distress, real distress that we had. I mean, I was fairly young as I was trying to help figure out how to pay phone bills and light bills and the rest. So I started working early, whether cutting lawns or delivering newspapers or working at supermarkets or being a copy boy, not just because I wanted to be industrious, because we needed the money. Right. And
So wait a second, guys. So we're saying all this, but part of this is about caring for our parents. And part of the background is it is sometimes easier to care for parents when they have loved you, when they have sacrificed for you, they've done things for you. But what does it also look like when it's hard? And so whether it is dementia or whether it is, take a lot of things and keep it. And so
Hoarding. He's a hoarder.
And what's interesting, Bev, is why I knew this was going to be difficult for you is like a lot of Black people, you're taught not to fight or air our dirty laundry.
You don't air your dirty laundry.
Well, particularly for someone also who's a very proud person.
Yes.
Right? And so...
who's still here with us.
And who we love.
Right.
And so, part of what I also wanted to talk about is the real thing of you have older parents, but you also have a kid, and figuring out what is the best life for them. How can we help them to continue to have longevity, but quality of life, not just
But I did want to talk today about the challenge in raising and taking care of elderly parents, and that it's not just financial, and it's not just time,
emotional,
and it's not just emotion. But I think that one of the hidden things that people don't talk about as much is that often that parent was a little difficult to deal with. And I think that just like it's different raising kids who are difficult versus kids who are easier to roll with, I think taking care of parents who, by the way, are adults and have spent a lot of their life as adults who are difficult, I think that is a first-class challenge for many people.
Absolutely. And also when you want to also give them the best, when you also have a kid, and if they're also difficult and you recognize I can't do everything well. So what are other
things? But you know what though? I keep wanting to blow up that facade. It's not that you have a kid. It doesn't matter. If you didn't have a kid, you still wouldn't bring him here. So let's stop pretending and saying stuff like that. Because the truth of the matter is that while he has effectively lived with me for most of the last 30 years, none of his 3 daughters has ever, not for 6 months, had him live with them.
I lived with him when I lived with you during the pandemic.
Yeah, but that's because he was already there and you moved in there and I was there. But I bet you if I had moved out, I bet you wouldn't have stayed with him.
True.
And I'm not disputing
because he's
what you're saying.
difficult to be with. He's difficult to be with. He has a very strong personality. He is, wants what he wants, when he wants, how he wants, and he can be... it can feel overpowering, right?
And overwhelming.
And you add dementia on top of that, or you add any kind of
cognitive impairment.
Right, on top of that, that just makes it a really, really hard thing. And so actually, to be fair...
Meaning just for people who don't know, he could think that someone took his mail when in fact he just lost it.
Right.
Or he could think that his brother was alive last year when in fact his brother died 15 years ago, and you've shown him the eulogy.
Right.
Or you've shown him the obituary.
Right.
Right.
And he's used to using that super intelligence to make his way. And so, I mean, one of the things that was really challenging is he kept on using his credit cards and getting scammed. And he would continue to put his credit card information out there. And there's a lot of scammers that target elderly people. And so trying to keep him safe. But
called me 2 days ago to say, hey, do you know that you could get this? And I said, Dad, they're trying to, that's not real.
Yeah. You know, the other piece of it is, you know, we're not the only ones. There are, you know, organizations that help caregivers and family deal with people who have cognitive. And part of what they say is don't always try to show them that they're wrong, which frankly I was doing incorrectly. You almost entertain them. You don't have to, you know, continue to say, no, that person didn't die. Oh, ask questions. You do it with jokes, skills, and techniques. And because again, they say, like, why prove that they're wrong? That just makes them mad.
And I think there's something even a little different. Maybe you'll tell me it's the same thing, but I think it's not just taking you back, but I think there can be a lot of scar tissue, meaning that this person could have done the same thing over and over and over again, right? This person could have misspent, or this person could cause you and everyone else to be late and this may not be the 4th, 5th, or 10th time. It may be the
perpetual.
It may be that, and so that you don't have to reach back for some one singular distinct memory. There literally could be hundreds of examples of this, and so it can be really significant. You know, it was interesting that I had several girlfriends that he really liked, and one in particular, I have to say, to her credit, I think she'd say, I never have trouble with Dad being late. like when I ask him to be somewhere, he's ready to go. It was interesting. She said that she tried to focus on things that he wants to go to, as opposed to other things. So she tried to focus on stuff that she was like, I'm not trying to talk him into going anywhere that he doesn't want to go. But if he really wants to go to church or to this Jamaican restaurant or to this, then to try and navigate that. And I thought that was quite interesting.
That's one. Two, though, I think oftentimes is that you have Dad who may want to please somebody. So like you said, like he wants to be, you know, looked at as affable or looked at as, you know, especially if you're like saying, oh, Prof, because you call him Prof. Oh, gosh, I really love the way you do that. Oh, man, I love that you're so...
Because he was a teacher for many years. Many people used to love to call him Professor or Prof. And he came to enjoy that. And he comes out of a nickname culture, and so he loves nicknames, be it for him or for someone else. And
but to be clear, there are a lot of people who love visiting Dad.
That's true.
He's fun to be with. And like when he's engaged, they call him, they want to check up on him. He can be the best version of himself with others. He really is someone who likes a stage.
Okay, so let me push you then.
Yes.
Even though Dad is 91.
To be 92 this year.
But he's 91.
Yep.
My view has been that he's got another 15 years in him, right? That I think he's just a country boy who's got country stock.
He does.
And that kid's not going anywhere, and he's going to get into triple digits, and he's going to be at Carlito's high school graduation, and he's going to be excited about taking him to college. That makes me think 15 years is a long time. That's a lot of good, valuable life.
It is.
And it makes me think that we should try and change some of his behaviors. And I feel like you guys, for whatever reason, are not willing to,
it depends when you're
engage that.
Right. I think it depends on what you're talking about. And I think that also gender matters. So the way he interacts with you is definitely different than the way he interacts with us.
I thought you meant that women are more often wrong.
Ren, be careful. Your stripes are showing.
We are joking. Part of your job as the brother of 3 sisters is to make jokes, is to tease. That's on the business card.
It'll be a sucker sometimes.
So, all right. So sorry, but
I'm not sure which ones you're talking about, because I think you're talking about some of the hoarding things, which hoarding is actually a mental disorder, and you treat it as a a preference, a decision or choice, and that, well, it's no big deal. Just tell him not to do it so he won't do it, or just.
But that's too simple, right?
Yeah, but that's
simple,
kind of,
but not. But so
Yeah.
there's when she's trying to make a point, and the point is, it is a mental illness, and so you have to deal with it.
But I feel like you guys draw a bright line, and therefore you don't engage in any creative problem solving.
No, it's not. So part of the challenge is he is a person, an adult that has made his choices and will make his choices. Now, not to change what we were talking about, but to think about, for me, I think about how can dad live his best life for these 15 years? What can we do to make sure he gets exercise, he's mentally challenged and stimulated, he has friends, he's doing things that he's excited about? So,
But do you think that could someone, if it wasn't me, and so there was no scar tissue and triggering, you were just having a conversation with a therapist who was brainstorming with you, and if someone said, I think helping him gain some new skills and let go and address some of his key challenges could be the path to him having a different next decade or decade and a half, and that while that is hard work, not easy work, but it's hard work, it could be valuable work. Is there any part of you that if it weren't me and it was someone else could engage with you on that and say, does that say to you when you take into account how busy you guys are and everything else you have, that you should try and do some meaningful behavioral reset? Or does it say, you know what, even if that's conceptually possible, don't use up the time on that. Try to find a situation that works with what we have today and that gets him to the best possible place with what he currently has.
His example, he has almost a century worth of experience and of routine and of pattern behavior that he's learned and he's done over and over again. So you also have like the neurological things in your brain that, gets used to doing something in the same way. I don't think it's and so when you bring in the cognitive decline, I don't think it's as simple as, hey, let's try to change up our routine a little bit. I think because actually people get, as you grow older, studies show, and you can actually see, people get stuck in routines. People need routines, actually, just like children. You need routines in order to feel safe, in order to be able to.
But could you and should you build some new routines for them? I don't disagree with that.
It depends on what kinds of routines you're talking about. What are you talking about? Be more specific.
So our dad for decades has struggled to sleep, to the fact that he was up late, which to some extent I thought was cool as a kid because I like being up late, but I now realize how challenging that was to be up late. And so I think that there could be a benefit in a structured program to ensure that he sleeps and that he sleeps well. I think that
and that actually there's technology
routine.
With that, right? Even the PAP, he has
CPAP machine.
CPAP machine. So there are things that can be done, and if you had someone watching over him and making sure he puts that on, and so you have to have that kind of consistency.
How much do you think it's that you guys find him overwhelming? The idea of engaging with something that may be really hard with him, you're blocked from even kind of thinking about it.
No, it's not about really hard, Carlos. I think it's also about like what's safe. So you're talking about, okay, so let's go to bed earlier. It's not about just turning off the lights, putting you inside the bedroom and saying, okay, go to sleep. That's not a really good answer because that's how you can fall and hurt yourself.
Right.
So as an example of creating new patterns, what you're creating new pattern is putting the person into a bedroom, turn off the lights and saying, okay, go to sleep. That's not.
Well, there can be more to that. It's if we want to tomorrow go and do this thing that you want to do, then I'm going to need to make sure you're rested. So let's go to bed now. Let's not linger. Let's not stay up and watch TV till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. we got to go to bed. And you can make choices as you do for kids, as mom did for me, which is, how long are you going to allow lights on for me to keep reading? Are you going to allow me to keep reading until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m.? She made the decision, no, you can't. And even if you tried to sneak a flashlight in, she's like, I'm going to find that flashlight, and I'm going to make a decision that even if you have to just sit there calmly, that's what you were going to do.
Right. So
that you
again,
go to bed.
that's extra care.
What do you envision being true for him? So
what I envision. So he just got, at the beginning of this year, moved to the facility close to our house. Before he was at a facility that was like 25 minutes away, 30 minutes away, which frankly made it really challenging for Carolyn and I to go there. What I envision is him creating a community, both where he is and if having other people close by, him being able to come in a way that is cared for, and in a way that we can see him, even if it's briefly, and that he can come in and out. I think he wants to travel. I think it'll be a little challenging. He always would have liked it, and so he has a vision of going to Panama. I would love to be able to take him to Panama, where his father used to live, going back to Jamaica. Honestly, I think that might be a little challenging as, his physical capabilities, but as one woman said to me, if not now, then when? So it's going to be much easier now than 5 years from now. So don't delay, right? And so my vision for him is to get more community, to be stimulated, to read, to have current events.
Maybe moving beyond care for a moment, do you guys have fun times together, like you and him?
I think we've had some. He really loves Carlito, and that
That's sweet.
Yeah, it's very sweet. He's always just like
stands up straighter, walks better,
right? And actually will put Carlito on his walker, right?
Yeah.
And then start walking. They're walking together. So they did that at church yesterday or a couple days ago.
And they both love being with each other.
Yes.
I mean, I love Sundays because we will both take Dad to church. Mm-hmm. We go to church, so Dad will have that outside activity and listen. And then usually we come back. And
the ladies at the front are very nice to him.
Yes.
Always super kind.
Yes, and always people are excited to see him. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're good. When he's gone, they miss him. They ask about him. Right. And then we come back and we have lunch here. And then everyone falls asleep. Dad falls asleep on his chair. Malachi can fall asleep on the couch.
Carlito falls asleep on the couch.
Carlito falls asleep on the couch. So it is Sundays is a fun time. What we have to make sure that we do well is to make sure we take them back early enough so that Monday doesn't become too challenging, right? And so I will say there are times in which there's some times when he gets sort of stuck into remembering and maybe some negative self-talk. That's not really fun. But absolutely, I can say that we have some really nice times, and sometimes it surprises. Like I'm like, oh wow, I didn't expect that, but thank you God for giving me. Which honestly is very different than our mom, who you always had a fun time. Towards the end, she always, and I think many adults like this, thought of us as extensions of herself. Right.
And do this, do that.
And she would say, the way that she goes, I open the window, open the blinds, then open the windows, then I eat with a fork. And I said, Rosie T, I understand if you were doing it, you have a way to do it, but it's not you, I'm doing it. So please let me do it my way.
And she'll say, okay. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, you do it the way you want to do it.
So that's what I loved. I love that you might disagree, but she heard you and you can talk through it and you move through the process. That's not always the way that our sweet dad is, sweet pie. But he can be very funny. He can make you laugh. He says the most outlandish things sometimes. It's just very funny. He has a way of just.
When we were kids, we used to laugh. He had very strong opinions.
You have a mouth like a duck's behind.
That's a good one.
You're talking too much.
What about your friends? What this is our experience, but you probably have lots of friends who are having to navigate taking care of parents. What are you hearing, seeing with them?
And it's two things, right? Because at this age, parents are passing away, right? So on one hand, you're very thankful that he's still alive, right?
Because now it's like 15, how long ago since Mom? 2014? So 10 years ago.
No,
11 years
12,
ago.
Almost 12 years this year. So, I also have friends whose parents, the dad got dementia and so had to be put in assisted living but the mom was still alive, and the mom had to try to take care of him, and that was challenging because then he got a little bit aggressive, which is very different than he was before. And so taking care and the toll it takes on the other surviving person, and so it's about both of them sort of living, both helping but living, right?
That's when you have a spouse, and then also it depends on whether or not you have more than one kid, because I also have some friends who are like only children, right? And where oftentimes it is the father who passes away first, and so the mother is the one that's older and not necessarily bringing the mom in to live with them, but having the mom close by that going to take care of. And
do you think they're doing that? They're not moving the mom in because the mom doesn't want that, or because they don't want that?
That's a good question. I think I just assumed because the mom didn't. The mom and dad had a really good, strong marriage and relationship, and, lived together for so long, lived in a really big house, then, ended up, when the father passed away, moving the mom into another smaller place. But why not with him?
I mean, I feel like I have a lot of friends and they're trying to figure out what's the right way to do it, right? And then sometimes it's like, do you move with another parent? Do you move where family is? And so
that is so humbling, because we obviously have been in and out of a lot of senior centers, in part because they're short-term rehab or what have you, and often, as no one comes to visit them at all. So they may be there for a month, for 6 months, 9 months, 5 years, and no one has come to visit them, or maybe people visit them once a year, and so that's kind of a tough thing. Two of the things that I thought were positive game changers in terms of taking care of Dad. I think something called adult daycare, which I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And so if people don't know about that is brilliant. The idea that 2 to 3 times a week they can essentially,
that was
almost
a game
like
changer.
children, go to a 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. program where they're hearing people read, where they're playing games, where they're talking about. I think that's
current events.
Yeah,
they're taking a language class that Dad loved and everything. Spanish, and he's just like, I'm getting ready for Panama, getting ready for my trip. And so I mean, that actually, game changer.
And then the caregiver assistants, which were disproportionately young women, almost all young women. But I found that the right people were fantastic, and were fantastic supplements. And then the third thing that I thought was great, obviously, was church. I think that lots of positive things. But the fourth piece was physical therapy. I thought that where there was a good physical therapist who was engaged in strengthening, and who really was committed to not just helping that person subsist, but actually try to get stronger.
And good at walking him, because Dad actually can walk a long way. Like, I was actually surprised. I was like, oh my gosh, look at you. Because when we were
when motivated, right? Because I think he's motivated when Carlito wants to walk. You can get him even at 91 doing a full 4-corner block, right? Which is not a small thing, right? Yeah.
And so I know that I want to keep his mind activated. I thought about courses he could take online, in person, but there are just even logistical things, like even needing support with dressing and activities of daily living, ADLs. And so
people are saying that AI could end up being a big help, that actual robots for many seniors could end up becoming a wonder drug of sorts. That
Interesting.
the idea there's someone who's there who's going to make sure that has your food, that's going to change you, that's going to give you massages.
Well, you can see that because if AI, if you have like a robot and something that's big enough and strong enough to be able to lift up, right? Because Daddy's not a small guy either, right? So if you had like a robot who's like, okay, ready, 1, 2, 3, and then Daddy can also hold on to get up. Like I could see that making.
I could see that being a game changer.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, and I actually didn't incorporate that in my 10-year vision for Dad.
I didn't either, nor now that you're talking about it, AI, having an AI assistant, as we've talked about before, having someone to help Dad write his autobiography, right?
Yeah.
Write his memoirs, right? Because I think Dad has a lot of books up in him, right? And
He had some great stories.
Right.
True stories that people
Right.
don't know. Like, is that true?
Right.
They're like, it is.
And that's the other thing. I think that having some kind of big attractive dream, like Dad really wants to visit Panama, both because Panama's an interesting place, but because his father lived there, because that's where his name comes from. And I think that having something to reach for.
he's Carlos Sr.
Yeah,
Jr.
I'm Carlos Jr. and
Carlos
Littlefellow's the
Jr.
third. And so I think that there's a lot that is good in that. This has been an interesting topic. We've had strong disagreements on it.
Well, I will say this. I have a vision because I think not only is it caring for your elderly parents, but I think about what does my retirement look like, right? And one of my visions is how do you create community? Because all of these rehab centers, facilities that I see, I wouldn't want to live there
At all.
And so I think about, well, where would I want to live? I would want to live close to friends, people that I love and that I know, and if you are getting like you're cooking together, you're living together. So I feel like there's an opportunity for a new kind of community, right? And I know that like in Sweden or Norway, they have some places where they have 3 generations in these apartment buildings where the elderly...
You want to know one of the coolest ideas I've ever heard?
What's that?
In Zimbabwe, they have something called the loneliness benches. And so if you're an older person, you're feeling lonely, you can sit on the bench and people know that they're to come and sit next to you.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is powerful,
Wonderful.
not only for seniors, but I think lots of us feel
Of
lonely
course,
at
of
different
course.
times. And what an opportunity to engage. And then in parts of Italy, they have these things where they have seniors come and act as teachers' aides in classes.
Well,
and help teach the young ones to read, and knowing that everyone gets a benefit, that schools that are short of good teachers get a little bit of extra help, and seniors who otherwise might not be challenged and might not have an opportunity to contribute now are getting a chance to do that. And so I actually like ideas like that really can
can use
multiple
multiple levels, but also use them at their strengths, right? Because I think of like Dad was a professor, right?
Yeah,
and so he loves teaching, he loves sharing, he loves being able to use.
Wouldn't that
his
be interesting
knowledge.
if he had a robot-year-old who could help him teach a class?
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying.
How fired up
in
would he be?
India, they have the grandmother or grandfather for a class that they come in through virtually. So there's ways in which you can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
He loves being a granddad.
Yeah.
He loves being a big brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's quite powerful. So what do you guys? I mean, we all have friends from a variety of different cultures. What have you heard about people in other cultures in terms of how they deal with it?
I know in Africa, a lot of times you intergenerationally
You live with them.
You live together,
Yeah.
and so older people are respected, and so actually even in African American culture,
Right.
most older family members live with others.
Well, at least before, it's so interesting because that's how we did it.
I feel like everything's changed.
Yeah, everything is changing because
Yeah.
growing up, like grandma lived with different family members, and that's how we did it. But I don't.
And they shared the cost and the expense with the 7, and even the grandchildren helped as well.
Right. But now, because if I'm thinking about the aunties and the uncles that were left, well, the uncles aren't here anymore. But one uncle lived with his wife, and so they were fine. Oh, I guess they did go into a nursing facility, but they both died within a month of each other. They'd been married for over 50 years, right? And so had both died within a month.
Right. And so I think a lot of cultures do it differently. I do think it's changing. and
versus the European families tend to go straight to the facility, right? So
You mean white families?
White families go straight to the facility. Like, that's just when they get older, you can't live in your house anymore, you go straight to a facility. And I think that's not how the Black community had been for us growing up, right? And I think, arguably, Dad actually would want to live with one of us, as he has lived with you, right?
and if there was like an in-law quarters in which we had a caregiver, I mean, that's ideally, or if there was a home with other diverse people that served yummy food, Jamaican food, other food, so he had community, that's what I would want for Dad.
That actually is really interesting, because food can all of a sudden change the complexion of a place. And if there were places that have good, because none of these places have good food.
Yeah.
And if there actually was good food, it really would change the whole energy of the place,
Agreed.
probably. Yeah, it's so
Agreed.
interesting.
I talk to my friends now about what I would want. And I can imagine, so we have some land in Virginia, and part of, again, you dream. And my dream is, how can we build a different type of senior community where you have individual living, but like you're connected and you can eat together, cook together, and that you have friends and people who you like. You also have a connection to a research center. So like, and it's diverse and you have different talks and culture. Right now, finding that, it's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
We had Dad when we first came there, and it's like $7,000 a month. And so that's crazy, right? Crazy.
Right.
And so...
You know what's so interesting? It doesn't even enter my thought about retirement and that kind of stuff like that. I have no interest in thinking about that and conceiving about that.
So what do you say? You just say you just want to live by yourself all the time.
No, I'm saying that I'm going to live to 150. I have a long time to go before that is. And I do think, I was talking to a friend of mine who's 70, and she's like, all of her friends have like slowed down. And she's like, I think it's a problem that they are slowing down.
Well, what's
and
interesting is that she does not look like she's 70.
Correct.
She does not act like she's 70 at all.
And another one of my friends says, I'm not getting older, I'm getting bolder.
Woo!
And I
Love
like
it.
that. And
Love
so
it.
I just think it's also a mindset too. If you think you're winding down, everything about you will be
But
winding down.
wait a second. I guess what I'm talking about is, as I think about getting older and having care and living a full life, because that's what it's about, we have the example of Mom, writing her first book when, getting her PhD when she's 50, writing her first book when she's 75. So like, I understand it's not about winding down. And I think that I'll always be giving speeches and being active in the community, in the church, in a charity, in a foundation. There are things that I'll be doing to remain active. And I want to have a rich social life and community.
So that's a really a good question. At what age did we notice our parents were getting older, and how did we feel? I think I have a couple incidences, but one of the things is that Mom was always a good walker, right?
Yeah.
And so we would always walk with Mom, and Mom just, because she was fast, and she had 4 of us, and so she was always just like walking, and she'd always like kind of shaking her head like to side, and we're all like following after her, like trying to catch up. And I remember one time when we were in Brazil, and I was like, okay, Mom, let's go here, let's go there, let's go there. So all of a sudden, Mom was like, she's like kind of, holding my hand, and she's, the cobblestones were uneven, but Mom had like fallen before. Like, I remember she came to Hampton and fell. And so like, it was like really scary for her, and it was wild that we ended up having to like stop. I was like, oh, okay, wait a second, Mom. Let's take a cab. Okay, let's take a cab. Mom's sister also lived out here with our cousins too. We had a few cousins that lived out here, and so I remember one time we all got together and we went somewhere to, maybe it was like San Jose, but it was like farther out in San Jose. And did Mom meet us or something? But we were getting ready to split up, and Mom was and it was getting dark, and Mom was gonna drive by herself, and Mom was getting really scared. She was like, can one of them drive with me, or can they follow me, or she was just so afraid. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow. Okay, wait a second. Seeing is really hard right now. But you were so used to her being able to figure it out, to do it, to keep up, right? And so recognizing she couldn't keep up, but she wanted to keep up.
I know.
So look ahead. What do you think we can do to make it easier for Carlito or hopefully other little kids that we may have down the road?
I mean, I think it's really important to stay healthy. Exercising, eating right, so staying fit longer so that we, will be healthy older people.
And I think too, making sure our finances are in order, are in check, right? And I think just, physically, mentally, spiritually, right? Taking care of ourselves and being really consistent, I think.
What do you think, Carlos? What are your thoughts on how we can hack getting older and support that next generation?
I probably care a lot more about alternative medicine than I ever did before. And alternative medicine these days is old-fashioned medicine, so it's what do you eat, as you said, and how you exercise, and who you surround yourself with. I think is really important. Who your partner is, I think, can be really important. Part of the reason why I'm excited about Carlito's passion for cars and trucks is I think having passions can also keep you in the game. I remember meeting Gloria Steinem years ago, and I asked her, what are you most proud of? And she really thought for a while, and she goes, and at the time she was like 88, and she goes, I don't know, I haven't done it yet. And I love the idea of someone who at 88 thinks their best years are ahead of them. And so I think always keeping that kind of mindset also could
right,
have
you're
some
not
benefit.
Looking backwards, right? But you're looking forward, and
you're trying to be a part of creating and building and trying and experimenting, and for better or for worse.
I like that.
Yeah. And maybe one day there will be rose gardens, physical rose gardens, right? I mean, maybe when you talk about communities that have great Jamaican food and have spiritual, mental, and other, can you imagine rose gardens all over the world where people would be like, I want to retire in the rose garden in Thailand. I want to be in the rose garden in Jamaica. I want to be
in Portugal,
in Angola.
Yeah. Couldn't you imagine all these cool things? Cosmo, we got a new idea.
I'm the co-founder.
That could be fun. That could be fun.
Yeah.
That could be fun indeed. Well, thank you guys. I think I think this is a conversation that people live with, but I don't know that they actually have the time to have it out loud.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm hoping that something about our conversation either affirms some things or raise some ideas.
Or resonates. I mean, the other thing is we also want to hear from you. How are you thinking about caring for elderly parents?
Or how are you caring for your elderly parents?
And what are the things that you're doing? I mean, one of the things we didn't talk about is how do you rejuvenate? Because there are some people who are professional caregivers, and I say professional meaning you have someone in your home, whether it could be a sibling, right, that you're taking care of as they're getting an adult, but they have some learning disability or physical disability. And what do you do? What are hacks to rejuvenate, to restore, so that you can continue to be sort of the best version of you?
To have a respite, right? Because when you talk about the adult daycare, like that gives us sort of like a little respite to be able to say, oh, okay, I've got some time right now, right? And then, but what are some things like even maybe small little vacations or something? And do you do the vacations on your own? Do you do the vacations with?
Yeah.
I know
vacations could end up being good for everyone because I could see Dad loving a chance at a vacation. The other nice thing in that regard was his friend Commander, who one day just called me and said, how about I pick your dad up today, and how about we keep them for 6 hours, and we're
Yeah.
going to order food, and we're going to invite other
was
young
very-
people.
that was really
And so
Very
that was very
kind.
kind, and so
Yeah.
I hope that we do that as well
Our
for
friend
other
Cecily,
people.
who also goes to visit Dad,
Right.
or Stanford,
Okay,
and
yeah, Kevin
Patty.
and Patty,
Yeah.
very kind.
yeah,
Yeah, and I feel like he always has good ideas too.
yeah.
About raise the couch so he doesn't have to sit down as far.
Yeah.
I mean, what may seem like little things, but I think things
Or
that
even
make a
things
big
like
difference.
this pants, like get the pants that zip up on both sides.
Yeah.
So that all you can do is just like
Easier to change it.
easier to change it,
Yeah,
right? The
so you
zip on
can
and off.
technically rip them off.
Exactly, exactly.
Which is way easier when you're that age. Yeah. So many. So thank you. Yeah, to our village.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. As so many people are taking care of elderly parents and elderly loved ones, we thought it would be really interesting to talk about how we've done it, both as a way to share. Not always comfortable because, again, a lot within African American culture, there are things that you don't really air your dirty laundry.
You want to preserve the dignity.
Absolutely. So we want to do that, but we
And
also
safety.
and safety.
Right.
But we also want to really shine a light on an area that more and more people are dealing with.
Right.
And so as the U.S. is getting older, frankly, as the world populations are getting older, we're dealing with this not only U.S. but around the world. So if there's ways that you are dealing with loved ones who are growing older and maintaining their dignity, but also helping them to live quality of life. We hope that we came up with some ideas and thoughts that might be helpful. And we'd love to hear more how you're doing it. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're the
Watsons, stronger together.
together.
I keep it bouncy, cause no, they don't doubt me.